Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Joint police military operation for criminals in Jamaica.
That's why we're here, man.
Largely and generally, people are always happy to see the joint forces within their community. As you're probably aware, there are certain circumstances that a community has that lends itself towards a zone of special operations. And that is that you actually have a long-term criminal activity, usually gang warfare in that community over time. And shootings, killings in that area, and it may also impact other areas. The other aspect and feature of a zone of special operations is that it provides the mechanism and framework and safety in which a lot of social intervention can be done. It's a unique piece of legislation in that it ties the security arrangements with the social intervention arrangements. We're about to do a walkthrough. We stopped at one of the checkpoints just to check on the men and women who have been deployed here, both military and police. In a true sense, this is a joint operation. And it's not only joint in practice, because the police and military work together all the time in a joint way, but even in legislation and in law it is joint. So they're joint commanders, and the joint commanders are here behind me. And this is a good example of when you cooperate different arms of government, we can get some really good outcomes.
We will get you, Wholeness tells criminals. Despite the government being stretched with managing the COVID-19 pandemic and natural disasters, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the administration is not distracted and remains committed to tackling crime. He gave that commitment on Thursday night against the background of a 10% rise in murders year to date. I want Jamaicans to be assured that we, the government, are not distracted. We are managing everything all at once, and what you can be assured of is that you will have a driver who has the hands on the wheels at all times dealing with the challenges we face, Holness declared at COVID-19 press conference on Thursday. As we get this one crime under control, those criminals who believe that because of the government is now stretched, that we will not get anything done, don't worry, we will get you, he stated. Before revealing several strict virus containment measures, Holness spent several minutes addressing the increase in violence in the society, which he said is a part of the challenges we face as the Jamaican family. The Prime Minister went on to disclose that following a brief from Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson and the National Security Minister Dr. Horace Strang, it was revealed that the major crimes are down. However, violent crimes, murder in particular, is up by 10% year to date. And what is of concern is the southern belt of Kingston and St. Andrew, which comprises 4 of the 5 police divisions in the Police Area 4, has accounted for 36% of all murders in 2021, Holness shared. The parishes of St. James, Hanover and Westmoreland account for a further 24% of murders in 2021. Together, this cluster of communities in the southern belt of Kingston and St. Andrew and in the tri-parishes in the north has accounted for 60% of the country's murders in 2021, he continued. For Holness, who is also the Minister of Defense, he said there is a distinction between crime and violence that must be understood by the wider populace. He elaborated that what we are seeing in Jamaica is that not all violence is being driven in the pursuit of, or let's say, an economic motive. Some of it is being driven by domestic motives, families at war, We've been seeing terrible murders in a relatively peaceful community in the West Rural St. Andrew, where 2 youngsters were murdered. No, that is not in the course of crime being pursued for economic purposes. That is what you would call an interfamily, intercommunity gang warfare. We are facing a kind of upsurge in violence that is just related to how man deal with man, he argued. On that premise, the Prime Minister said there needs to be a different type of approach to dealing with what he described as not the regular criminality. Added wholeness on the approach that is needed. There is something happening in our society that we have to carefully classify. So, it is not just a matter of crime. The issue is that the use of violence to settle our regular social and domestic conflicts to the point where it is drawn out into feuds and war. Standard policing may have some temporary impact, but it won't have the long-term impact, and until this way of viewing our problem seeps into the consciousness of our public commentators and some of our policymakers, we will not craft the right policy measures to deal with it. The government used states of emergencies to curb criminality between 2018 and August 2020, but many persons have questioned the effectiveness of the measure. The use of states of emergency came to the end on August 2020, weeks before the September 3rd general election that year. Shortly after the elections, the Supreme Court ruled that the detention of 5 men under a state of emergency was unlawful. The following month, Chang said the government would not declare any further state of emergency until the completion of a review of the Supreme Court judgment. Based on media reports, the government has since filed an appeal against the judgment. While not mentioning the use of SOEs directly, Holness said on Thursday that the government is in the process of crafting measures to address the crime issue. We have started to craft and we have started to put in place measures that have an impact, but of course, we still need to do some more work, he said, adding that we will make the necessary legal changes, ensure that we have the right mix of policies to address this specific type of challenge which faces the Jamaican state. For now, Holness said the police are conducting search operations and implementing curfews in several communities that are plagued by violence. The police have engaged in search operations. The police commissioner has informed me of such, and that is having an impact without a question, he asserted. Continuing, he elaborated that the police have confronted and taken on in some cases, unfortunately, despite some of the criminals, but they're having an impact now with the new surge in police operations, and that would have been accompanied by some establishment of curfews in some areas. Meanwhile, Holness reiterated the government's commitment to dealing with crime amid the various major challenges being faced by the administration. We give the commitment to the Jamaican people that we continue to work very hard, despite the challenges in terms of legal framework in which we have to operate, in terms of the resource framework, but as you can imagine, the resources of our security forces are also tied up in the pandemic, he shared. We are stretched not only just with natural disasters, we are also stretched with managing the pandemic, he admitted. 81-year-old attacked and killed in St. Anne. 81-year-old Norman Campbell of Goshen District, St. Anne, was found dead at his home on Sunday, August 22nd. The senior citizen was noticeably killed on a no-movement day nationally. Reports from the Brownstown police are that about 1:45 p.m., Campbell was found in his home on a bed with his head bashed in. The police were alerted and Campbell was transported to the hospital where death was confirmed. Investigations continue into the development. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.